ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಸಿನಿಮಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಅಜಿತ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ರಾಥೋಡ್ ಅಂತ. ಜಾಬುವಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಿಂದ ಬಂದು ಪೂನಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಡಿಸೈನಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕಲ್ತು, ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳಿಗೆ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಅದ್ರ ಹಂಗೆ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಫೆಸ್ಟಿವಲ್ ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಜರ್ನಿಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರ ಜರ್ನಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಅಜಿತ್.
Hi Abhay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, as you can see.
Great. So Ajit, just wanted to start with where are you from and how did your journey into cinema start?
So Abhay, I come from this place called Jhabua, which is a very small district in Madhya Pradesh. It's predominantly a tribal district and of course one of the backward places in the country. So the government always used to have some kind of development programs going on in the district, like polio, those sort of government programs. So one such program happened when I was in school, when I was in 8th standard in 96-97. So this program was called Jhabua Development and Communication Program, JDCP. Now what used to happen in JDCP is that there were producers and directors who would come from Ahmedabad, because we are a district which is right at the border of Gujarat and Rajasthan. So that's like probably the one western corner of Madhya Pradesh, and you just go into Gujarat from my district. So a lot of producers and directors used to come from Gujarat, from Ahmedabad, to make these educational films. So what they used to make in educational films is like a story of cleanliness. So we would all dress up like tribal kids and we would act into those educational films. You can call them docudrama, but they were very government kind of projects, So that was the first time when I saw the shooting process, and because I was acting as a child, I saw that there was a recordist and there was a cameraman and there's a director and there was like a proper crew. There were different types of crews. So in one of the crews, there was a very senior gentleman, a cinematographer, as we used to call it then. His name was Darshan Dave. So he was most respected. Why he was most respected? Because he came from FTII, from Pune Film Institute. So I got to know about FTII from him. And that was also my first exposure. I was just in 8th standard, so that really caught my attention. And I said, yeah, I will become a cameraman. I must go to FTII. So then that became my dream from then on. So then I, of course, it was a non-internet era and there were no mobile phones. Of course, we had landline phones. So there was no possibility of getting access to the informations from FTII. But I knew that I have to be a graduate to go to FTII. So, but I wanted to keep my options open. So that's why I kept science till 12th standard. And then there was some shifting happening in FTII and restructuring, and they changed the eligibility criteria. So I shifted to commerce immediately the moment I knew that the graduation in science criteria is gone. I think earlier they used to have science graduation for camera and sound both. So they removed it from both and they kept it 12th. So I for my BCom, then I shifted to Pune with the aim of going to FTII. And then that was the first time I could actually get any information from FTII, because I would come to FTII gate and then wait for some student to come out, because I did not know anybody and the guards would not let me go in. So I would stand there for a long time and then somebody would meet me at the gate, and that's how I made some friends, and then I started going to FTII and I got to know that how I should prepare for the FTII entrance exam. So that's how I came to Pune, and then I finished my graduation and then I applied for FTII, and then I got through in the first attempt. But by this time, I was doing a lot of music and I had never done any kind of photography. So yeah, so then I did not apply for camera, I applied for sound. And I got through. So yeah, that's been the journey from Jhabua till FTII.
Yeah, see, your journey is also interesting for me because Jhabua is as you said, it's a tribal village, and it's a journey from some unknown small village to a mega city like Pune, and even bigger city Mumbai. So yeah, it is also interesting because for us, a lot of small town boys, it's very aspirational to become filmmakers who don't have anybody in the film industry who can support us.
Yeah, I would say I was kind of fortunate because my elder brother was already studying in Indore when I was in school. And once he finished his graduation, that was the time when the information technology was booming. So I think that that was his but obvious move to Pune for his post graduation. So he was already in post graduation by the time I was doing my 12th, and he was in Pune. So that kind of made it little bit easy for me. Also because my brother's generation probably was the first generation from my town who went ahead of Indore and started studying in places like Bombay or Pune or Hyderabad or Bangalore. So yeah, because my brother was already there in Pune studying, it became a little easy for me to come to Pune and do my graduation.
So you had dreams of becoming or entering film industry and as a cameraman maybe, but eventually you decided on sound. But how was the experience of FTI? Like,
See, it's very funny situation. I actually always wanted to make films and make music. These were my two ambitions always. I think still there. So I did not know that FTI has these different courses, and then if you take this one course, then you become that. There was nobody to guide me. There was no precedence, and this project which was going on got over by the time I was in 10th standard. So these guys were also not frequenting the town. So so for me, it was like more of like going to FTII, because I thought once you go to FTI, you make films. so, so, so I did not know that if I do sound, then I will go out and become a sound designer, and if I do camera, then I'll go out and become a DOP. So for getting into FTI for me was that अभी अपन picture बनाएंगे, अभी अपने को picture बनाना सीखेंगे यहाँ पे, उसके बाद जाके बनाएंगे. So then FTI happened, and I think it's still the best time of my life. I think all of ours, and the most fantastic place to study, I would say. Not only trains you, but also makes you think about certain aspects of life. So it's been great. I think I was so excited getting into FTI because it was my childhood dream, which unlike most of my classmates, probably it was not that old. Like you were not dreaming from 8th standard till you graduate, 7 years of dream and coming to FTI in first attempt. So I was so excited for the first year that I did not really study. I was super excited to just be in FTI. So one day our classmate Mandar Kulkarni, he said, "Hey, क्या रे 6 महीने निकल गए, अभी just थोड़ा सा शांत हो जाना, अभी कितना खुश रहेगा." So yeah, FTI was good. Great things happened. We saw great cinema. With the mindset I went in, I came out as a new person. I think all of us is, as I would say for everybody. It was fantastic. Cannot really explain it here in in 2 minutes, in a few words.
so one of the highlights of your FTI is your friendship with Amit Datta and filmmakers like him.
Yeah, I would say that because in FTII in our times, of course we were taught, we had classes and we were taught all the machines and we saw great cinema and there were always discussions. But I think what makes big difference for everybody who graduates from FTA is the final diploma film. Like, because that is the film where you actually kind of apply whatever you have learned in 3 years, whether it is in terms of direction or in terms of camera or in terms of sound or edit or anything else. So I think that happened with me. I would say that my majority of my learning happened for me in my diploma film. So if Amit had not happened to me, probably I would have been a little different person in terms of understanding of cinema sound. But during that process of that 22 minute diploma film, there were so many things which I got to learn from him. And through him, or I got to explore because his ideas were there to make me think. I think that was really important. And then that camaraderie is still carrying on. So I'm still doing all the films he's making. I'm still designing sound for him.
Can you explain the process? Like, what is so special? Because it is a special process when you're working with Amit Datta or that kind of film. It is a special process, and it needs certain kind of a different approach to sound design.
See, I think I'll tell you about two scenarios which I have come across as a sound designer. We generally call it commercial film and art house film or experimental film. But if we just call it film, then there are two situations we generally come across. One is there are filmmakers who, at the writing stage or after the writing stage, during the pre-production, they engage with you as a sound designer and they design the scene sitting with you. I mean, this is the setup, this is the night, and what do you think? How should I do the shot taking so that we can design the sound like this? So then that happens generally in a dramatic structure wherein a director wants to create a certain emotion with the help of sound and music and his other elements, other tools. So in that we sit down and we plan certain things. Okay, let's give this character this kind of a house, where there is this gutter or maybe there is this traffic outside or something which will probably we'll use in the drama. But in Amit's case, it's a bit different. So this is a absolutely different approach which happens with Amit. So with Amit, there is this certain principal ideas of shooting that which he derives. We of course keep on talking about sounds and we will do this and we will do that. But there is this principal photography which he does is with some kind of thing in his treatment or in his mind, wherein when the film comes to me, generally there is no sound, absolutely blank strip. Maybe lately he has some dialogues in the film, so in one of the scenes there will be few dialogues. Otherwise, it is like one mountain and then one jungle and then one man standing and then it's close up and then again the mountain, then again the jungle, then the man is walking, and then absolute silence, nothing. So you start thinking, how do I put sound to it, because there is no reference to anything. Okay, you put jungle. If you see jungle, you sound jungle. That's all right. But what if you don't? So then you start, what I do is then I start making my own fictional stories in my head. The stories are like, okay, there is this jungle, so birds are chirping. So because the birds are chirping, there is wind blowing. So the moment the wind blows, the wolf howls somewhere far away. So I keep on working on this cause and effect. That because of this, this happened. Because of this happened. Because of this happened. In reality, nothing is happening like that. But to move further, in time on that sound design, I have to keep giving myself some kind of motivation. Otherwise, you look at a temple top and you see what should I put here? So you need some kind of reference, some kind of story, some kind of fictional uh, idea in your head to move forward. So I just keep on doing that. ये sound हुआ, ये sound के बाद में ये sound हुआ, ये sound के बाद में ये sound हुआ. The moment the wolf howled in the distance, at the same moment the thunder crack happened and then the rain fell down. So the sound of one to another, one to another. So yeah, this is absolutely different approach, because we talk a lot about sound, but not in terms of planned way. Like we will take the shot like this and then you put the sound like this. No, we decide about certain things that this is how we will do, and then he goes and he shoots, he edits, and then it comes to me, then we start sound from scratch. And sometimes I think 50% of the time the ideas which were discussed before the shoot, they do not really work when you execute them. Like in Nainsukh, there was this, he draws something and we decided that we will increase the sound of water really high, really high, really high. But when we did it, it did not work. It was really jarring. It was not giving that poetical, beautiful moment. So we said, no, let's check the idea. Let's see what works better. So there's one wherein you work with the filmmaker before, and then you plan the shot accordingly, you plan the scene accordingly, then it happens. And then this is absolutely where you shoot and then you design something absolutely new. Yeah.
But Ajit, tell me something. Like, as you said, there are two type of approaches, or also probably two type of films. One is purely narrative driven, and other is slightly abstract, at the same time still narrative. The kind of films Amit Tata makes and filmmakers like him make. So I'm just curious. In both the ways, is storytelling the only essence?
I think if I go back to our discussions with Amit, then I don't think that we ever thought that we are here to tell stories. I think we are there to create experiences. And then whatever story is being told, I think that might be Amit's personal something which probably we'd never discuss. And of course, there's always a story. I think the way he tells the story is a bit different. And all the films have stories. The later films are very definite, and they're also linear. The later films he has made in the last 5-6 years. So I think story is not an essence in terms of Amit, because he's making films out of his experiences and understanding and his scholarly life.
See, for Amit, when he is directing, the film can be his vision. At the same time, when he doesn't give you any sound cues from the visuals, and you said you create your own stories to build sound, then are you creating a narrative again? Are you creating a story for the audience to gulp?
I was actually thinking to bring this in the earlier question itself, that then what happens that he has created something with a idea in his mind, with a mise-en-scène in his mind, a certain experience which he wants to create, but not very strict about कि यार यहाँ पे तो यही sound आएगा, except few places maybe that sound is needed, it's needed. So what happens is that in that process, there is this film strip becomes very independent from the sound. And when you put them together, then the third thing comes out. That is what happens. In the other type of films, like the commercial films or the pre-decided films, you already know that boss iske andar tere ko na darana hai audience ko. Mera character darna chahiye. So you are working towards the aim of creating or using all those sounds where you are creating some kind of sinister feeling or a horror feeling. So it is pre-decided that you are not supposed to make people laugh in that scene. You have to follow the emotion which is there from the writing stage and from the shooting stage. Wherein here there is a possibility that you might have thought something else, but you put some sound and a beautiful thing happens. And that beautiful thing is not primarily just the emotional feeling, just the direct emotional feeling, I would say, like horror or fear or elation or something.
But then how do you guide the emotions?
I think it is not scene by scene. I feel that overall, when you see a 2-hour film or a 1-hour film, I think in the end you get some kind of experience, which I don't know how do I put it into words, that how do we create it? I can say how do we create it is that what sounds best on that shot. So there are then the basics comes in again. So the texture of the sound and the perspective of the sound. So sometimes when we play around with these small little tools of sound, then suddenly there is some kind of beauty which starts to happen, which I don't know how to put it into words. Like you put one sound on one image and then suddenly it comes alive. Wherein you put another sound and it goes dead. So you just try something and then there is one feeling which originates and then there's another in the another part of the film, then another and then another, and then in the end as a whole you get some feeling which I have not ever able to understood whether it was happiness or whether it was sadness or whether it was elation.
No, but Ajit, tell me something. It cannot be so arbitrary, right? Like you set out to do some, you just randomly shoot some visuals and there will be some time.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's not arbitrary. It's shot with the principle in mind, and of course a script in place, and of course a story in place. The only thing which Amit does is that his treatment is not as usual as you see in other films. So if you look at the story of Nainsukh, it's the story of a man who comes from a village, happens to be at a king's palace, and then becomes the king starts to patronize him because he's a beautiful painter, and then he follows his life. He dedicates his life to the king, and then in the end the king dies and he goes into jungle. So it's a very linear story, very linearly told. It's just probably the shot taking would be a little different. It is a little more like a painting. Maybe some other filmmaker will make the same film. It will be completely different film. So it is not random. It is the process. It is process oriented, not a conclusion oriented. Let's put it this way. आप pre-decided emotion पे नहीं चल रहे. आप अगर एक emotion pre-decided है भी, melancholy आपने decide किया है कि okay, there should be some melancholy here, but you may want to explore that if there is any other emotion which it can generate. And again I'm saying that I don't think that we are working here to generate emotions, experiences. Now if you want to call those emotions experiences, that is fine. Some kind of experience.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. At the same time, this kind of cinema as a whole is a very rarity these days.
I think it is dying.
Dying form of art. So interesting. We are all dying species. See, there are two type of films. Largely, broadly structured. I was not specifically asking about Amit Datta's films. I was asking about the art house cinema and the so-called mainstream or the commercial cinema, as we put it. So these two are sort of, at least in Indian context, it's very, very clearly demarcated.
Very different. Yeah.
Very different. We may not wish to wish to say that we are art house filmmaker or we are commercial filmmaker. But we are as filmmakers in India. It's sort of clearly divided.
Yeah, it is.
So when you set out to do a art house cinema, which eventually ends up in some film festivals. So, is there a space for such kind of film in the Indian market? That's what I'm asking.
See, I think there was a space, but that space is now getting squeezed by the day. I would say almost done. Maybe just little bit spurts here and there. Because the first time any of my film went to a big film festival on the global stage was in Venice in 2009. And then again in 10, and then in 2011, I co-produced one film which I myself took to Venice Film Festival. So then there was absolutely a different world existed. There were people, there were connoisseurs of cinema. There were the festivals, and the approach and attitude of festival was also a little bit like that. The director of the film festivals had an inclination towards art of any kind, just not about cinema. But over a period of time, I have realized, because my latest film, which I produced, was in competition in Berlin Film Festival, like 3 months ago. And I was there in Berlin, and I saw this whole journey of the shift, from the approach of film festivals, from being very true to art, as well as, of course, some kind of blockbusters. But slowly, I feel that it has now shifted to jiski lati uski bhains, you can call, So it has become, and I think also because of the digital thing coming in. Earlier, they would probably get 1,000 films or 500 films every year. Now they get 15,000 films. So they have subcommittee, and there's a subcommittee of the subcommittee, and then this guy is probably the college intern. He watches a film, then he tells the committee above, and then that tells the committee above, and then your film is lost by the time it reaches. It's already filtered. So it has become like a very hustling, bustling, a very harakiri space. So I don't know what art is doing there. Art is doing for probably some people who are already known as a filmmaker of a certain kind. But if you want to make a certain film like that, you have a long journey. Probably your film won't be seen. You might have made a film which definitely qualifies, but your film won't be seen. So then it has become as complex as a mainstream industry. I would say mainstream industry is easier. It's easier because there's a definitive path to it. You want to be a cameraman, study, don't study, come start working, rub your ass for a few years, or maybe work hard under some DOP, and then you're out. You can make a small project, then start a small commercial here and there, and then you make your way. Here, there is nothing. If you get awards and awards and awards after one after another, then there's a different case. But that doesn't happen to everybody. So your film will probably just keep on getting lost and lost and lost and lost. And another challenge here now is that the festivals are choosing films. Sometimes I feel that they're choosing films depending on the expected performance of your film. So like you have made a good, first thing is that you have to make a film of a certain standard, of a certain aesthetic, and of course of a certain quality. But after that, it should also have some kind of post-festival expectations, because I then started to believe that maybe these guys want this film to be a starrer art house film, so that tomorrow it goes on in theaters with their logo on top of it or something. So all those things starts to come in, and then I start to believe that these guys are supposed to be the connoisseurs of art, which they are maybe, but it doesn't seem like that many times. So when you go there, you meet people. Of course, they are very different. They are different from the situation here in India. They have a lot of respect for filmmakers. They have a lot of respect for films, in their own limitations, and of course the investments and fundings and the business and whatever is related around the festival. They have also their crisis probably to deal with. So the things have changed.
You are also one of the pioneers of Gujarati cinema. So it's surprising. How did that?
I would not say pioneer, because pioneer is such a strong word which belongs to the guy who created it. So how I am pioneer, if I want to use this word, is that when Gujarati cinema always existed. I think in every state a certain kind of cinema always existed in India. At some places they were properly placed, proper filmmaking, like in Bengal or Maharashtra or some other places like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra. There were proper industries always in place. But in places like Gujarat, there were films which were more like we call B grade cinema, or something which is not up to the standards of certain type of storytelling. So that cinema already existed, always existed, still exists. People go and watch that cinema still. They release in single screen theaters as well. But what happened in 2011? There's this friend of mine, Abhishek Jain. He's a graduate of Whistling Woods, first batch. He comes from Ahmedabad. So he worked here in Bombay for a couple of years after he graduated, and then he thought he should make a Gujarati film. So he went and he started mounting a Gujarati film which tells the story the way we see cinema, like a Bollywood film or a film with proper tools of cinema, with proper tools of storytelling, with a certain quality, with a certain performances, with certain camera work, with certain music, with sound. So he wanted to do it like that. The earlier films were more like there's a Thakur who comes to the village and do certain bad things to the girl, and then there's somebody who comes and saves the girl and the family and saves the village. That was just going on in loop. And people would dance around the tree and chaniya choli penke. They were all doing dandiya most of the time. So he wanted to tell stories, different stories. So he started that. That was the first film which he made, and of course I was his friend, so I became part of that film by default. And I was the sound designer for that. And then that film did have its own struggles, of course. To release a Gujarati film in multiplex, the audience were not ready. That multiplexes was not ready because they said, you don't release Gujarati films. Okay, nobody is going to come. Because Gujarat doesn't have TV channels also in Gujarati, if you know. Gujarat did not have TV channels in Gujarati language. They used to watch Hindi content. There were some in 90s, but they closed down slowly. So there were only, I think, ETC or something left. Now there are a couple of them. So then it was, of course, it had its tough journey, but the film got released with great reviews. I think fantastic film also. And that's how it started. And then he made another film, and then that film did commercially fantastically well. Did a business of $2 million, I would say. So then suddenly everybody realized that there is some kind of potential here in Gujarati cinema. So other directors who were there making small time TV serials or maybe working in Bombay, because Bombay and Gujarat is so close that people actually shuttle between Bombay and Gujarat to work. So all those people started to come back home and started to make their films, and then slowly in 7-8 years there's this full flourishing industry. In fact, the last national award for best feature film is a Gujarati film last year, and of course that film also is doing well everywhere. So that shift has happened. Now when this shift had happened, the government of Gujarat also showed some kind of inclination. So they formed a new department in the government, in the Ministry of INB, and they made constituted a subsidy panel, and they constituted a Gujarat State Award panel. And because we were the first one, I am also the part of the subsidy and the award panel in Gujarat. And then the subsidies are being done very fairly in Gujarat, and they are also given very fairly. And the amount of subsidy is also quite high. I think the biggest one is 75 lakhs, the lowest one is 15 lakhs or 10 lakhs. So, and they give it, I mean, they literally give it to filmmakers. So of course, depending on certain things and the reviews and the jury who sits and do all those things. So that happened in Gujarat. That's something I think most proud of, because that is one chapter of my life that can never be erased from anywhere. I will always be there in the history books of Gujarati cinema. So yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. A part of your early life as a sound designer is also...
Yeah, there's one more thing which I would like to add. So as I told you in the first question that there were people, directors and producers coming from Gujarat, and we used to act as child actor. Now I am their sound designer. So those guys, they were doing their small time government projects or some TV serials, and there was no hope of Gujarati cinema. So once Gujarati cinema started happening, these guys also started making films. So by the time now I'm grown up, so I am actually a sound designer of a director whose child actor I used to be 25 years ago, you know. So that's beautiful thing. In fact, his next film is going to start in a couple of days. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, you're asking something, sorry.
Yeah, so moving a little earlier to your filmmaking career, you did a lot of television, big blockbuster television. So how did that happen, and how was the experience there?
I would say not really big blockbuster television, but there's only a couple of programs I did for television. One was Shyam Benegal's series on Lok Sabha channel or Rajya Sabha channel on the formation of Indian Constitution. So that is one. That was a one-time thing. It was a 13 or 15 episode series on the formation of Indian Constitution,
Samvidhaan.
periodic series.
Samvidhaan.
Samvidhaan, yeah, Samvidhaan. In English, they call it Constitution. Other than that, there is only one TV program I have done, and it's called Khatron Ke Khiladi Fear Factor.
Suits you.
and that is my flagship. I've been doing it for 7 years now, 7 seasons. I think 2012 or 13 was the first one, and the last one was the last one. So it is interesting because it is not like the general television program wherein the edits are happening endlessly and there is no work hours, there is no fixed work hours, and the budgets are minuscule. No, it is quite organized program because it is a very high budget program, and it always raises the TRP of the channel. So whenever it comes, all the creatives and everybody is focused on that. And it's interesting because I have to deliver a 45-minute episodes in 18 hours. So it is extremely challenging because it comes to me sometime in the middle of the week, and it is going to be broadcasted on Saturday. It comes to me on Wednesday. I have to finish it off by Thursday so that it goes for the mix, and Friday it goes to the channel. So earlier it was the same week, but now I think there are rules that you have to submit 1 week before, but the deadline remains same for me because they have to submit 1 week before to the channel. So the something which is going to be broadcasted this week, I have already done that last week. So it is very tight in terms of timelines. And it is interesting because how I got on it is a senior of mine, they went to him like in 2012. There was another program called Wipeout, India's version of Wipeout, Zor Ka Jhatka. So that senior of mine, he said he was busy in something, so you should go to Jimmy. I'm generally called Jimmy here. So they came to me and they wanted a film sound designer to do it. The guy who can create that big sound, not the small TV sound where general television has. There's nothing really called sound in Saas Bahu soap opera TV channels. So they wanted something to become larger than life. Like a bomb blast should actually look like a Bollywood movie bomb blast. So that's how we started. That show did not do well, so it did not continue. But next year, the show timing was replaced by Fear Factor. Then of course they came back to me, and then they got what they wanted. In fact, that was interesting because for that season, I think I also did the opening music programming. I mean the music piece where I think Akshay Kumar was hosting back then, and there is that one or 2 minute entry of the host of that program. So he comes in with a lot of stunts and this and that. He would hang from helicopter and then jump from there into the sea and then swim and then on the boat. So I composed the music also for that, and then I gave them what they wanted. So I gave them that helicopter and I gave them that bomb blast which they wanted, and so they were really happy. And then of course the relationship is made, and then it happens every year.
Yeah, so your spectrum is very, very interesting. Like you come from a small town, you do you realize your dream of FTI, and then do some bit of extreme television, extreme art house cinema, and Gujarati cinema, which probably you don't even understand. It's funny and vibrant, to put it mildly. Uh, and you're a rock musician.
Drummer. Drummer.
Yeah, so it's crazy at the same time beautiful also. So how do you manage the spectrum? Like, does it bother you to shift from one zone to another zone? And
No, not really. I think it is other way around. It is tough for me to stick to one thing. I have been planning my life for at least as long as I know, from at least FTII time. Just stick to something, just stick to one thing, do something properly, do good. But I don't think I can. So I would say it was some kind of fickle-mindedness. But I think over a period of time, if you just keep repeating certain things, you start to know those things in depth. So I cannot do one thing. I think I will be doing something else in a year or so. so, so, so I think that's my personality. I think I can't really stick to. So it is not really difficult for me. It is like I'm talking to you, and then suddenly something happens to me tomorrow morning or in the night when I think or I read or see something. I probably will start pursuing it tomorrow morning. So it comes very naturally, very easy. Sticking to one thing is tough.
I agree. In one of those instances, is also about production. How did you start producing films, and why?
I told you that I always wanted to make films. That's the reason I went to FTII. And I always wanted to make music. So if you say making film is direction, then of course I have not done any direction. Of course, small little things here and there. Uh, so in 2016, I became an accidental producer. Actually, it happened by chance. So me and my one of my cousin, he was in another business. He wanted to make a film, and he has been telling me for many years that let's make a film and you direct it, I will produce it. I would never take him seriously, because I thought, okay yaar, aise bahut log aate rehte Bombay mein, everybody wants to make film in India. So I was not very serious, but one day he really got serious about it, and that day I realized that I should actually be doing this because this guy seems serious. So we started writing. I started developing a concept which I already had been working for many years. I think I've written around 5 6 scripts which I never directed. I lost interest after writing them. Maybe you can direct one of them. There's one good one for you. So I was always writing something or the other. So there was one subject on music which I wanted to make the film on. So we started working on that, and it was never-ending process, because I'm not a writer, in terms of natural writer. I can write. That's another thing. Everybody can write. But writing with that kind of speed and with the agenda and to get everything in place with enough drama and everything. So I engaged a friend of mine who's a writer, and then we both started developing it. And then it was taking long time. 6 months went by. I was still not happy with whatever we were writing. No, it's not falling in place. This is not. This is not. So, meanwhile, there was one film which came to me for sound, and it was called Autohead. And Autohead is there on Netflix. I think still there on Netflix. So Autohead, we shot Autohead. Our classmate Ravi Dev, he did the sync sound for the film, and then this guy disappeared. This director, very small budget film, not a lot of money in that. So after a couple of months waiting for him, I called him up. I said, "Where are you? You have not come for post production." Bola, I don't have any money left for post production. And by that time we were already into with me and my cousin, we were already 3 4 months into developing the script which I was supposed to direct. So I told my cousin that let's do one thing, let's put in money in this boy's film, let's finish this film, and come on board as producer and learn the job of producer being on this film, and I will help you out with whatever I understand about production and I understand about film industry. So that's how we came on board as producers. I was not officially, I don't have the title of producer, but I was the partner in the company which produced it, like gap funded it and became producer. So my cousin, he tried to work as a producer, but he couldn't. So eventually I was the one who started to involve with the film, and Rohit, who was the director and also the producer of the film. So that film happened, and then Netflix had come to India. So Rohit sold it off to Netflix, and then I realized one thing. And by that time, that script was still not developing. That script was still, it is still underwriting. It is still underwriting till date. But during that process of being part of Autohead as an honorary producer, or as a representative producer of my cousin, I started enjoying that process. Like I told you some time ago that some idea would come tonight, I will probably start doing it tomorrow morning. So I started enjoying that process. I said, यार ये तो बढ़िया काम है, एक और बार करना चाहिए. Let's do it again. So then I started looking for more filmmakers, and then I happened to meet Pushpendra, who was wanting to do his second film Ashwathama, and he had one producer, and he wanted one more guy to come in and put in the balance money and become producer. So I liked whatever he had to make, and then I came on board as Ashwathama. And then at that time I also floated my own banner, so that was my first film under my banner. And then that film happened. The film opened in main competition in world premiere in Busan Film Festival. Film got really good reviews. The film traveled really well. So then बोला ये तो बहुत ही बढ़िया काम है यार, फिर से. So then I started looking for more projects, because you cannot really develop lots of projects in house, with the limited bandwidth and limited funds you have. So then I started looking for some more projects, and then there were a couple happened as a gap funded project. And then Pushpender was again ready with his next one, which is called The Shepherdess in 7 Songs. And we were already there. I mean, we had told him, go, you write whenever you are ready, let's do it. So we looked for international production initially. The film was in Film Bazaar co-production market. The film was in Hong Kong co-production market. And there were people who were approaching us, the foreign producers, wanting to do a co-production with India. But we had set a timeline that if these guys turn up till this time, it's okay. Otherwise, we will go ahead and we will make the film with our own resources. So that's what happened eventually. So me and Sanjay Gulati, was another producer, and Pushpender made this film. And then this film just premiered in the last Berlinale in the new competition section, which is called Encounters. So that's how that shift happened. And accidental producer. but yeah, I'm getting serious about it with every year. So there might be more.
Is it mandated to take you as sound designer for the films you produce?
No, I am not the sound designer of one of the films out of 5.
Oh, just kidding. Yeah.
So no, I don't want it. No, I want to make sure. I don't want to do it. In fact, I tell all of these guys that I don't want to do this, because there's a lot of producer wala kaam, in the end, and there's always harakiri, because the film is getting finished in its own way, in its own process, and then some big festival picks it up, and then you have to finish it off in a month. So no, I don't want to do this, because I get extreme anxiety. I get a lot of panic attacks, and I go haywire, because I have to mix the film, I have to be there, and then there are calls coming in for producers. There are people calling up for payments. So either mixing chal rahi, udhar payment wala phone kar raha hai. That kind of thing also keeps on going. So I don't want to do this, but I do it because that's how we control the cost as well. So if I do it, then I would probably charge lesser than any other guy I would hire. Control the cost.
Great, Ajit. It's wonderful. Where you started off as a small boy wanting to get into FTI, and now you are a producer hopping film festivals in world over. It's a very interesting thing, and I really wish that you stay as restless as possible and keep shifting from one beautiful thing to another beautiful thing. So all the best, Jimmy. Ajit Singh Rathore. It was nice talking to you. 17 years of knowing you. It's been really wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Abhay. Or I hope after FTI I also do sound for your film sometime.
Why not? Yeah.
So for the record, guys, Abhay and me, we were also team members in FTI. I also did the sound for his diploma film.
Yeah.
So yeah, but after that we never worked together I think because of geography, Abhay, nahi?
No, you are too expensive for me.
I think all of us are now, nahi?
Yeah.
All the classmates.
For good. Anyway. So nice talking to you, Ajit Singh Rathore, after a long time, talking about craft and talking about personal adventures and experiences. Thank you so much for giving me time.
Yeah, thank you, Abhay. And I think this is a very good series you have started. It's I think really good for first to connect with each other, to get to know each other better, and then of course the audience, which probably can have some good things from our experiences together. No?
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.